Hello everyone, thanks for tuning to Sims Workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. So today we're going to be reviewing Poppy War. I'm a little late to the game on this one, I do agree with that, but whew, I'm really glad that I finally got to read it because damn, that was good. Traumatic, but good. I'm going to preface everything by saying, I did give this book 5 stars. I really did. But that doesn't mean it was absolutely perfect. I give it 5 stars for reasons like it drew me in, it was very emotive, even though it was traumatic, and it felt very real. The opening chapter is a little jarring because she goes from 16 to 14 to 16, and the transition from each isn't quite as clear as I would like it to be. It's a little jarring, that flow. But once we're out of that, the rest of the story, it flows effortlessly. I will say, because we did discuss this for the Fantasy Fanatics Book Club at Barnes & Noble in Fort Lauderdale, that her writing style is somewhat tense, and it has a very academic feel to it. That can be off-putting for some, but personally, I didn't even realize that any of that until we were in the book club and we were kind of discussing it. I'm like, oh, you know what, it kind of does, it was a little dense at times, and you know what, it did feel very academic at sometimes, but for me that just gave it a sense of realism. Like I was reading this thesis on this character and her choices in war, and I thought that was really brilliant as far as her writing style goes, because if memory serves, I think she did write this for college. I think I don't remember the specifics, so it makes sense why people kind of feel that way. But you're following Rin, and she's just, I was drawn to her and frustrated with her so much because she's in this world. Women are only good for either being a soldier or being a wife, or sex thing, plaything, whatever. But she doesn't want to be a wife popping out babies. She wants more for herself. So she gets into the academy and she thinks, great, this is golden. But now she has to prove herself so she can stay in the academy. She's not really given a whole lot of choices. She's really a character who's stuck between a rock and a hard place. However, as the story progresses, she has choices. Not all of them are great choices, but there's a lesser of two evils decision that she has to make, especially when it comes to Jiang and Altan. They're kind of like devil and angel almost, I want to say, playing on her shoulders, and it's just like, listen to Jiang. He has points. He's making points, Listen to him. Jedi and Sith, whereas Altan, he has all this rage, and you understand why he has all this rage. I mean, just the horrors he experienced when he was younger. First, his people are murdered, genocide, he's the last survivor, and then he's experimented on by the Federation. I mean, it's awful. So you understand his rage, but he's telling Rin, like, feed the rage, kind of like, Sith, like, feel it, embrace it. Sorry, my inner nerd coming out. And then Jiang's like, no, don't give in to the gods. They just want kind of chaos. And, the Phoenix pretty much says as much to Rin later on in the book. She's like, we're just here for the vibes. You're the one making all the choices. We don't influence anything. And it makes sense, You knew the decision she was going to make. You absolutely knew it, because it echoes her kind of speech, thesis, essay, whatever you want to call it, early on in the book. It echoes that perfectly, her decision. And it's just like, you were always given the opportunity to make a somewhat lesser of two evils decision, and you decided to continue going down this kind of darker path, and you're turning into kind of like the villain yourself. And I like how Kate calls her out on her shit later on in the book. I really do. I appreciate him. I do love Kate. But you also can't really hate her for it. You know, you really can't, because, again, she's hot-headed, and she's just a girl stuck between a rock and a hard place. And you have everyone just kind of like telling her this and telling her that, and they're not really exploring the consequences. I mean, there's a lot of horror in this book. You know, what happens to Venka at war is to be expected. You know, war's dramatic, but oh God, the pregnant mom scene, that's gonna stick with me forever. God. And I'm just like, damn, that's traumatic. This book is not for the faint of heart, I will say that. It is not for the faint of heart. It's about war. It's about the horrors of war. It's about, you know, there's genocide, and there's calculated murder, and then there's, you know, rape and all kinds of brutality, and it's not shocking, which in itself is kind of sad. You know, you're just kind of like, well, this is kind of expected. A little desensitized by it, but it's what's to be expected, most of what happens. But then, you know, it just makes you think. And I like books like that. I like books that make you think. I like books that get to you, you know, emotionally. But oh wow, I mean, I think that's why I appreciated her writing style so much. You know, that it was very academically inclined, because Kwong is direct and very detailed, and I appreciated that, because I'm like reading, I'm like, oh God, I'm like, oh God, I'm like, oh God. You know, a book that it's like it could be shock value, but it's so realistic that you know it's not shock value, and that's the part that like gets to you. But it's a story that makes you think, and it, you know, as much as I got frustrated with Rin, I understood her. You know, she's an angsty teenager. She's an angsty teenager who just, she's lost. She's lost, and she doesn't know how to find her own place. So she's trying to find her own place. She's not always going about it the right way, but you can see that she's just kind of trying to find her people. So you feel for her. And you're like, I understand why you made these decisions. I don't agree with them. I don't condone them. But I understand where you're coming from. So I'm really excited I heard it gets more traumatic. So they're on the second shelf of my library cards, book 2 and 3. But we're gonna power through them. I do like Kwong's writing style and her sense of storytelling and her characterization. Each of the characters did stand out. There's really good character dynamics as well. So, I mean, I think everyone should give this book a shot. I know I say it's not for the faint of heart, but even if you are faint of heart, just read it. Just try it. You have to try it. I think everyone should read this book. And I'm so sad that I'm late on this uptake, but it was, you know, quite brilliant, honestly. It really was. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I was able to discuss it with the book club, and you know, it's gonna be damn, wish me luck for books 2 and 3. That's all I can say. In any case, thank you all for tuning into this review of The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.